Thank you so much for joining. Today, we're kicking off the 7th in a series of Insightly product webinars with a focus today on Lambdas. As usual, what we want to do in this webinar is focus on business outcomes and use cases, and we want to show you some really specific examples of the ways that Insightly helps customers use Lambda functions to drive business value. I'm Melinda Prescher, Insightly's Senior Product Marketing Manager. I've got Zeke Silva with me today. He's Insightly's Senior Director of Client Services. He and his professional services experts are on the front lines of helping our customers get more from their investment in Insightly. And he has a view to some really specific customer examples of Insightly integrations that we'll share in a bit. So Zeke, go ahead. I'll have you jump in and introduce yourself.
Right on. Thank you, Melinda. Hey, everybody. Hope everyone is having a wonderful morning, or when you watch this in the future, hope you're having a wonderful day. As Melinda stated, my name is Zeke Silva. I am Insightly Senior Director of Client Services, where I manage both our customer care technical team along with professional services. I've been at Insightly, almost 4 years now. As Melinda said, today we want to talk about Lambda and how our team helps bring Lambda to the forefront of, bringing simplicity to, what could be rather complicated tech stack. And so we're going to be doing some customer kind of evaluations and stories around that. But specifically, we're going to be talking about the pain point that these customers faced, the solution in which we brought to the table, and the ultimate benefit that resulted in that. So Melinda, go ahead and kick us off.
So as usual, we'll start with the challenges that drive the need for Lambdas. Then Zeke and I will spend some time talking about what Lambdas are and under what scenarios you should consider using them. We'll also talk through some examples from the work that Zeke's team has done in collaboration with Insightly customers to really paint a picture for you of what others are doing with the goal of helping you consider how you might use Lambdas for your own unique use cases. So let's dive in. When customers come to Zeke's team for help, they're really looking for ways to scale, improve sales velocity, maximize the value of the data that they have in Insightly, and really develop deeper relationships with their customers and prospects. Most of our customers use a number of different types of applications to help manage their business, but they want Insightly to be that single source of truth for their data. So they want to be able to integrate data from third-party applications with the goal of building much richer relationships with customers and prospects. Lambdas are used when customers need to integrate Insightly with other applications, but the key takeaway here is that customers really need Lambda specifically for really unique business processes that can only be expressed through custom code. There are other ways to integrate with third-party applications, and some of those solutions are actually simpler or they don't require trained developers to build custom code. The main point here is that Lambda is one tool in a broader integration toolkit. It's not really efficient to use it for every single integration challenge that you might be faced with. You want to use Lambdas in a really laser-focused way, and you want to use Lambdas when there's not a simpler solution to integrating Insightly with other applications. Zeke, what are some of the things that customers are struggling with when your team is called in to engage?
Yeah. So if you take a step outside of your organization, if you kind of look from the top down, there's going to be at any given time multiple applications that your team's going to be using. And the pain point that we hear constantly is customers want that single source of truth. And because they don't want to have to go to Insightly, and they don't want to go to their ERP, and they don't want to go to their e-com site, and they don't want to have to go to all these different places to gather the metrics so that they can report back on how they're doing and how they're performing, whether that's on a business level, on an individual level, or on the executive level to the board. So that's where our team's going to come in. We want to help build that process to bring in that simplicity. And I know it seems kind of counterintuitive, but with complex code, we can bring in that simplification. And so at the end of the day, we want to help connect all these multiple systems that you might have within your tech stack and help bring in that source of truth directly to the unified platform, which is Insightly.
Zeke, I'd like to have you go a little bit deeper on the experience, the expertise, and the skill set that your team brings to the table when you engage with customers on these complex challenges.
It's like a proud parent moment. I get to talk about my team for a minute and how awesome they are. They really are. They're some of the most talented and gifted individuals that I've ever worked with in my career. We have a combined, call it 20 plus years of technical experience. And what's really interesting about our team dynamic is, while we have a lot of outside insight experience, which gives us, a lot of knowledge with third-party tools and overall tech stacks, we also have done a great job with promoting and growing our team from within. So when you work with our team, you could be working with like Erin Tom, who's been at Insightly for I think 5+ years now. She started as a support rep. She was a senior support rep. She was a tier 2, and now she's on professional services. And so she really understands how Insightly works, and then she can then kind of work backwards to bring in, solutions to the table. We have developers on our teams as well. That's why we're talking about Lambda here. And so our development team can come in and help write that code, for this, that particular solution. With code, comes in different languages in which, a Lambda can be developed in. We choose to focus all of our development around C#. It's the most common language that we use, and Insightly's built on it. All of our engineers write in C#. That way we kind of keep things unified across the board. And we find it also to be the most versatile. Also, when you think about versatility, you actually might have a development team on staff and you're like, we don't need the professional services team, we have developers. Those developers, though, might need some direction. They might just need a little bit of guidance on where to get started. Our team is still here to help with that, and we could help kind of scope what that engagement looks like, because at the end of the day, for us, it's really about the partnership, and that's what we ultimately will focus on.
Excellent. Zeke, let's talk a little bit about, what is Lambda? So, at the heart of this, AWS Lambda is an event-driven serverless computing platform. It's provided by Amazon, and it's part of Amazon Web Services. It's a computing service that runs unique complex code in response to really specific events or triggers, and automatically manages the computing resources required by that code. Our customers embed custom business logic in Insightly, and that code is run off of Insightly's AWS servers. Adopting this is a really great way to reduce or eliminate the need for traditional legacy computing systems, services, and infrastructure. It also allows you to customize workflow automation to fit the needs of your business and leverage the power of the data that you hold with Insightly to deliver better, more relevant experiences. Insightly handles the Lambda account administration, the data processing, the testing, and the deployment on behalf of our customers. So Lambdas can connect to any program's API, including Insightly's. Lambdas update data on external systems and Insightly. They can add custom actions to workflow automation in Insightly. And they can create hourly, daily, or any timed function that periodically checks for data changes in Insightly or an external system. That said, because, like I mentioned, there are other options for performing integrations, you want to be pretty selective when you consider using Lambdas. Zeke, when you're thinking about recommending Lambdas to customers, what are some of the criteria that you use to evaluate the need?
Yeah, so you kind of already started to mention it and talk about it. It's really when we find ourselves in a situation where a customer is going to have a very unique case that is potentially maybe specific to their industry. E-com is a very general term, but you might, if you're thinking about e-com within biotech, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about that today. That's very industry specific on how they're using it. Also, if you also think about high volume, high effort, we want to help reduce that and build in that automation, build in those checkpoints, build in the error handling so that you guys can just focus on running the business. That's kind of the why. It's also important to talk about the how, and you talked about that a little bit. We do all this work, we build all this custom code, we do all these really cool things, and you're kind of like, great, how does it actually start? How do I get this thing going? And that's where triggers come into play. So a Lambda can be run, as Melinda said, on a time-based. We actually use that very scenario here in Insight where we have a timed function that runs really early in the morning, PSD our time. It looks at the previous day, calculates a bunch of things that happen, and outputs the results so that our sales ops team has metrics on how the team performed the day prior. We can also trigger it off a workflow. So for those of you who are using Insightly today and are familiar with workflow automation, a workflow is a very much if this, then that statement. Well, that that statement can be trigger a Lambda function. We also have custom buttons that you can apply on a layout, which would then click that button, Lambda fires. They can also be triggered off our finish actions within Insightly Marketing.
Fantastic. I also like that setup for where we're going next. So we've actually got three very unique and different stories to share with the audience today. So what we've done in the past with our webinars is we brought in a customer and had interviews, but rather than drilling down into a single customer story like we have previously, what we want to do, because Lambdas can encompass such unique use cases, we wanted to share a much broader perspective because Lambdas are the solution to these unique use cases. So the first one we're going to start with is a company that Zeke's team has worked with called Evolve BioSystems. So Evolve is a privately held company that's focused on developing a next generation of products in the microbiome space. So Evolve is a spinoff from a biotech institute at UC Davis, and they're essentially taking learnings from the scientific community at Davis and bringing their solution to market. So Zeke, I recall that Evolve had decided to switch from a legacy CRM to Insightly, and one of the reasons that they wanted was that they wanted the flexibility and the extensibility of Insightly. And they worked really closely with you and your team first to migrate their data to Insightly, but then also they wanted to make it easier for their team to ship product samples to scale and to create velocity through the sales process. Talk a little bit about what your team did for them.
Yeah. So through the lens of pain solution benefit, it's what you're gonna hear me talk about over the next kind of several stories. The pain was that Garrick's team, their sales team, they were a boots on the ground sales team out there, hitting the pavement, going to these offices, and they can only visit so many offices in a day. So if they had the ability to maybe call an office and say, hey, we want to get some samples out to them, they could do that, but they still had to then go into their e-com system to manually create that order, which if they messed it up, it could potentially get shipped to the wrong address. That would be bad. It may not even get shipped at all. That's even worse. So what we wanted to do was create a solution which would tie Insightly with their e-com system so that through a custom object, the sales rep who's already working inside Insightly can enter in some information about what they want shipped, who they want it shipped to, workflow triggers, sends that data over to the e-com site. Their team is then able to process that, drop ship it, boom, hits the doctor's office or the facility. Then we actually built another function that helps complete that circle, brings in analytics from that it's been delivered, updates that record back inside Insightly. Now, the benefit is they're able to do it a lot quicker. There's less error. There's less opportunity for error to happen because we've built all these automations in, and we also use custom calculated fields and validation rules. And then what happens is Garrick's team is able to have all those analytics. They're able to understand how their sales team is performing, how much they're drop shipping, what they're drop shipping, where they're drop shipping it. And all that then comes back and updates dashboards and updates reports. So they have real-time analytics to report on the performance of how their business is doing. And that's exactly what they were looking for. And we were able to help deliver that.
Wonderful. I remember in that conversation, I was really struck by what Garrick said about how their sample distribution used to require 3 people and take half an hour. And now it's just been completely simplified. And not only that, but they have the data that they need to be able to speed up their sales process. So this worked really well for them.
Mm-hmm.
The next customer is a company called Hurst Review. So they help hundreds of thousands of nursing students prepare for and pass their licensure examination. So this is basically a standardized test preparation that every state regulatory board uses this licensing process to determine a candidate's readiness to become a licensed nurse. So their service is really, really important in their industry. Zeke, you also helped Hurst transition from a legacy CRM that really wasn't meeting their needs, but their use case was very, very different than Evolve's. Talk us through what their situation was.
Yeah. Hurst is one of those customers that, I get to interact with where actually starts to impact me a little personally. My mom's a 40-year nurse, now retired, and she would always be doing these like CE credits, and I just know how beneficial they are to the industry. So it was really awesome getting to work with Keith and team, and I think Keith might even be on right now. I was looking on the I think he registered. So Keith, if you're on, how you doing, bud? All right. So the pain that they had here was they had this antiquated, like outdated system. They had extremely low user adoption, and it wasn't connected. It was completely disjointed. So we ripped all that out and we connected their website directly with it Insightly. So you have potential students going to their website, looking to sign up for classes. They also have maybe returning students who are looking to who need to take a new class, retake a class, whatever that might be. And so we needed to build in all this logic to say, like, has this person been here before? Cool, take them down this route. Are they new? Boom, let's take them down this route. But by connecting their website and using Lambda functions, we were able to build in that business logic to effectively say, if this is happening, then do this. If not, then do that. And what the result was, we had increased user adoption because the users are all on the single platform, which is Insightly. They know exactly what's going on. Their sales team is able to help get these events booked, and then they can get back to the business of educating and teaching and certifications versus having this disjointed systems. And then that was the ultimate benefit was, Keith is able to ensure that his team is able to successfully deploy these classes for these moments instead of, wondering what's going on and not being able to actually get these classes kicked off. So it was a really good moment for them, and their user adoption has obviously increased, and they're able to just focus on running their business.
Yeah, in this story, I was really struck by how much this integration was actually able to smooth their sales and marketing process, and then also help Keith with his reporting processes, which are so critical for anyone, trying to make sure that the value of their marketing activity is understood by the leadership team. So this was also a really good one. The final example that we have is a company called Crowdsource Water. So Crowdsource is a certified B Corp, meaning that they've met the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability in balancing profit with purpose. They sell natural spring water and use aluminum bottles instead of single-use plastics. Their focus on sustainability, conservation, and global impact has led them to set some really lofty goals as a company. They've implemented a zero waste policy, their plants are designed to have low energy impact, and they're working toward net zero energy usage. They plan to donate $5 million to environmental causes by 2030 and ultimately divert 200 million single-use plastic bottles from landfills and waterways. Seek, I'm really impressed by the mission of this organization. They're a relatively new company. It was founded in 2017, but I really like their commitment to the communities where they source their water, providing jobs, and their global commitment to moving away from single-use plastics. Tell us a little bit about how you and your team have helped them.
Shameless plug, I'm actually drinking Crowdsource water right now. So Andrew and his team, when they came to us, had a super cool use case and story that I was immediately on board with, and we were super excited to help them with. So, selling water, it's one thing. You can go to the store, you can buy a case of water, you can go to the liquor store, whatever. But they also sell it on their website, which is really cool. So you can go order cases of water or sparkling water. But one of the things that Crowdsource is doing that I find to be really interesting was they actually connect with big vendors, call it sports teams, concerts. I can't wait to go to a concert again. That's gonna be so fun. And their sales team would do is they would set up orders with these big vendors where they would, these vendors would be committing to a 12-month supply of water or 24-month supply of water. And so they were leveraging our products, price books, and quotes within Insightly, and they would build the quote, they would build the opportunity. The opportunity would be the overall kind of arching parent. But one of the things that Crowdsource needed to do was to forward look on how that was going to look. So that was, what is the annual recurring revenue on a month-over-month basis for that particular order? And so that's what we were able to build with a Lambda function. So when that opportunity is marked one, the Lambda function will then create 12 or 24 additional records so that they could look at a month-over-month basis on how they're trending. This gave them a couple benefits. One, it enabled them to forward look on how they are going to be performing from a financial standpoint. It also gave them the ability to forward look on what supply was going to look like so that they could then make sure that they were properly aligned to meet that demand. At the end of the day, they were able to have all those metrics, those benefits, and that ultimately then goes back and ties back to their kind of, as you're saying, Melinda, this big lofty goal of giving back and maintaining their certified B Corp status and, reducing waste, but also, meeting these kind of obligations that they're committed to. And so it was really cool to see that delivered. We're working with Andrew on another function as we speak. And so it's just going to help further bring the extensibility within their organization.
Absolutely. This is really helping them understand where their business is headed. I just think, it's such a great opportunity for them. Zeke, let's actually transition right now. We do have a couple of minutes for Q&A. Do you want to go ahead and check the chat pod to see if there's anything there?
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is from, oh, hey, Sean. I know this customer. Sean's on. So Sean questioned, hey, you mentioned tying it to the website. Yeah, so I can expand on that. So with Hurst Review, what they had is they had a contact form, and they built an actual portal within there as well. So their contact form was kind of like the top of the funnel, and then users, their students, these nurses and doctors would then get, I want to say they had logins where they could go in and rebook events or fill in information. But we effectively worked with Hurst's IT team and tied those contact forms. And then when those contact forms were submitted, they were sent, we created what's called an endpoint gateway. And so once that information hit that gateway, that's what actually triggered the Lambda function to go do what it did. That's like the kind of a short Twitter version. I could probably talk an hour about it, but I hope that kind of helps clarify how we tied their website into Insightly. Amanda, does Insightly work with MailChimp? Great question. So we do. We do have an integration with MailChimp, but we also have our own marketing platform that sits within our unified platform. So Amanda, if you're looking to kind of understand that a little bit more, I think Courtney would be more than happy to have that conversation with how Insightly and our own marketing platform work and the benefits of going that direction.
Okay,
got a couple more coming in. All right. Tyler, does Insightly integrate with Jira project management? We can do. We can build that as a function. We're actually building that for a customer right now. So Tyler, if you're interested in doing something like that, we can get your information and we could scope that out. Amanda, you would be interested? Awesome. Courtney, we'll grab your information and connect with you. Let's see, Anonymous, what is your approach to building a custom integration? How clear of a plan do we need to start with? Ooh, good one. We want to get very defined. So the way our professional services team would work is we're going to actually scope it out. We're going to meet with you, with your team. We're going to understand what that pain is. And then we're going to build out a solution. We're going to show you exactly how we would execute that. We then build that into a statement of work that is signed by both parties. And that's what we're going to execute against. And so our professional service team works on time and materials. And so we could kind of get into the ins and outs of that. But that's, we nail it down to the field mapping when we build out integrations. Okay, got more coming in. Paul, how do we ask for a possibility? Okay, so Paul asked, how do we ask for an evaluation or possibility of a quote? We're looking for integrations between Smartsheets and Insightly and our BI subscription service. Paul, we should totally talk. That's it. That's how you ask for an evaluation. Raise your hand. We can connect with you and get your information and get going. Talk about it. And we can absolutely talk about Smartsheets. They have a super clean API, and BI subscriptions would understand what they are, what their capabilities are, but absolutely. Oh, we got more questions here. I'm also interested in learning more about Insightly's marketing platform. Totally happy to have that conversation with you. And Gemma, currently on a professional plan, I'm looking to auto-generate PDFs. Is this possible? Absolutely. Merge Docs is a feature that we have. We can send you some information on how to do that within Insightly. Oh, well, this is fun. I'm also interested in learning more about Insightly's marketing platform. Totally, we can do that. And I think that's it. We got them all.
Okay. Zeke, I really want to thank you for sharing your expertise with the audience today. It was really, really helpful. And again, thanks so much to the audience for spending time with us today. Our team would just love to learn more about how we can help you reach your objectives. So if you didn't ask a question during this session, if you would like to get in contact with us, use the contact information there, and don't hesitate to kick off the conversation. Thank you so much.